at that time I was into Western, not even Westerns, but I liked the movies like you just drive somewhere in the middle of nowhere and you arrive in a little town and things like go bad and then they go good. And so it was my next dream to become a truck driver.
So I know you tell me that it's so weird because in America, like if you told like kids say, yeah, what do you want to be, a truck driver? Yeah, that's probably not going to come up as one of the paths. But I could totally see that if you watched American movies, like being out on the road, because we have that. I mean, I can't count how many movies are like that, especially back in the 80s. So you decided, did you actually ever become a truck driver?
I feel like I'm almost there. I don't have a truck, but I do drive probably 400 miles each week.
Yeah, well, being a real estate agent. So, how did you get to Dallas? Because you're in the North Dallas area.
Right. So, well, I didn't have a truck at that time either. I had a little Nissan Murano at a time. So, I packed very little what I had in my trunk and said, I'll just, live through my dream of traveling through the United States, and I head south.
Okay.
So it took me about 5 months to get to Texas because I detoured a little bit. I would stay in New Mexico area, loved it. Would stay in Colorado for a few weeks, also loved it. But it truly was the love from the first sight. Just entering Texas on the west side of Texas and seeing oil jacks and vast, endless ranches.
All the Western movies come.
Oh my gosh! I'm like, I can't believe this really exists. And you know how some people say, you can just look at an ocean all day long, or you can, watch a fire flicker and it relaxes you. So I can watch oil jacks pump all day. It just relaxes me.
Yeah. You gotta move to West Texas. You gotta get out of the Dallas area. You can go everywhere. There's like literally a jack pumping oil everywhere you drive.
And I loved it. And I'm like, I can't. And to remember, I have that already freedom to think that I can pick where I want to live, right? When you don't have any ties, right, you can take yourself and plan to somewhere else. I'm like, why can't that be my lifestyle?
Yeah.
Right? Like that thought came in and I said, there's not a single reason why I can't own a pump jack and, mend fences and I had no idea what people did here.
Yeah.
Right? So I did not know how it exactly works, but I said, I want a piece of it.
Yeah.
And, I made all the way to San Antonio, stayed there for a few weeks, liked it, but when I got to the Dallas area, I mean, it might be a combination of the fact that I was really, really tired.
Okay, all right.
I was driving at that time for like 5 months. And
yes.
When I say I was driving, right, like I didn't have much money at the time, so I would say I didn't have a place to stay, so I would stay at like places that charge you $25 per night, right? Like you hope you don't get shot, but
it's scary.
Like fleas are not gonna eat you up. I mean, it actually was not really as bad, but it was tiring.
Yeah.
And in the Dallas area, I was tired. Also, it was October. One of those beautiful Octobers that we have with temperature being in like low 80s, high 70s, just lush and beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot believe that it can be so pleasant. In San Antonio, they had a whole bunch of bugs, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And Dallas was perfect. It had a huge metroplex, so if I wanted to have a little bit, civilization and a good economy, I had it available, and also it still felt like Texas.
Yeah. You're up here and you're in Dallas
right
now, and you got to make money to live. It's an expensive place to be. North Dallas area is incredibly expensive. So what'd you do?
Well, I decided to be a real estate agent, but before we go through it, when you have no money, when you had no money your entire life, you said you can live on $200 per day. I can be frugal. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a prima donna right now a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. You're enjoying life now.
I am. I have a very indulgent lifestyle right now, and I'm totally fine with that. But I can live very inexpensively, right? I would. So I decided, to become a real estate agent, and I'm afraid to say it right now, the reason why, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It was one of those professions that required a very low point of entry.
Yeah.
Right?
You didn't have to go to 5 years of school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I have a degree in psychology. In order for me, if I am to become a psychologist in America, which I would not want to do it because I would make a terrible psychologist in America, but if I am to somehow translate my degree so that it is acceptable in this country, it would take the same 5 years, and again, that was not really the industry I would want to be in. So I knew that in the industry, real estate industry, all I had to take, and I know it sounds terrible, however many weeks of education. And at that time, I thought it would be a fun idea to look at homes all day, every day, right?
Big, nice, beautiful ones.
Yeah, obviously my my vision of the industry has evolved many times over it, right? So I'm not a real estate agent because I like to look at houses all day, every day nowadays. But
I send some houses to you, and they're pretty bad ones, but you go to them.
I go to whatever house I go to. Yes.
And so you have to show some pretty sketchy places sometimes. So you went in, you took everything. Now, did you do any other jobs in the meantime?
Well, and this is funny story because through the entire life of mine, I thought, why can't I be a waitress, right? I'm bubbly, I'm nice, I can be friendly. I applied, I kid you not, I applied to maybe like 20 restaurants. No one would ever hire me to be a waitress. Like, even to this day, I'm like, I can't believe it.
You might be an overqualified. You
I don't know.
Well,
right? Like, how difficult can that be?
Well, I kind of, so when I came out of law school, you have about three months between the bar exam and you actually becoming a lawyer.
Yes.
So during that time, I needed a job.
Right.
So I applied at Walmart.
Right.
And they wouldn't take me.
No.
I was like, I'll stack boxes. And then they're like, well, what have you been doing the last, about 4 years of your life? Oh, I've been in school. And they're like, well, where'd you go? I went to Texas Tech. What were you doing there? I was in law school. They're like, oh, no, we're not hiring this guy. Because they know you're going to leave.
But so what? Everyone leaves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, I'm like, I don't know if I should feel offended about it. Like, why can't I land a single job doing something like that? But, so no one would hire me. I'm like, well, I guess I'll be a realtor.
So how did you get your first deal?
How did I get my first deal? I mean, I did not really know what I was doing at the time. I joined Abbey Holiday Realtors, which is a company I'm still with today. And at that time, they had a so-called floor time, where you basically sit at the front and answer every incoming calls that comes in.
Okay.
And
someone called in.
Someone called in, and I got all excited and showed them the house, and they liked it, and we made an offer. And
so, when was the first time you made real money? That you all of a sudden looked at your bank account and went, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have that much money in my account."
Oh, the first year in my career was a little, iffy. It was also the time I was getting married.
Yes.
So I was kind of traveling between Texas and Mississippi and not really still figuring out how that whole industry works. But really 2011, no, it was probably 2012 when I got my first, technically it's going to be the second year, I guess, in the industry. I mean, I made great money.
Yeah.
And even to this day, but it's funny how it works, Taylor. Like, the first motivation always to make money, right? But once you pass that point, like in Russia, I didn't have, or not even in Russia, I did not have enough money to pay bills, right? I
Yeah.
didn't have it. I would go to a store and I wouldn't have enough money to buy whatever I needed to buy, right?
Yeah.
Like once you cross that point where your basic needs are met, something changes, right? So it's and it happened rather quickly for me. So it just gave me that sense of security that I did not have to worry about money anymore.
So what drives you now? So you got past the money. What drives you now to be the? I mean, because you work hard.
I do, and I thought about it too because it's not money. Obviously, I have I have a lot of responsibilities right now,
Yeah.
right? I have 3 people staff. I have a whole bunch of bills that I have to pay on a monthly basis. So I have land to pay for, etc., etc. So I almost have to work just because of it. But it's a little different right now. It's truly just to see that I can do it, right? Like because I've already gone through it, and now how far can I push it, right?
Gotcha.
Like how far can I go? And to this day, constantly, I look back at a year past. I'm like, what can I do? What could I have done to be better? Could I have sold my houses? If so, how? Where would I get that time? How can I be more effective with my time, right? Can I not do it? Can I outsource it so that I can concentrate on something that is a little bit more dollar productive, just because it's a game, it's fun.
Yeah, it's like you're progressing constantly. It's a constant feeling of growth that you have in your life.
And another thing, someone told me that once, and it is very, very true. Your financial situation, right? Your income will grow in proportion to your self development.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, how much money I make, it's not about the money. It's a reflection of how much value I get to bring. I know many people that are good people and they make very little money, and I'm not in any way saying that they're not good people, right?
Yeah.
But I do know that my income right now depends on how better I can be as a human being.
Yeah.
Right? Because even you have staff, which I never really thought about it. Now it's a leadership issue, right? How can I have people actually like me and work for me?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's difficult. Yes.
It is difficult. So this is why I know if I am become a better person, a better leader, a better business person, a better, discipline plays a huge key, right? If I use my time better, that's how I'm going to make more money. And in my situation, it's reversed. So I know when I make more money, that means I'm progressing as a human.
Yeah, and you can offer more to other people.
And ultimately, the better I get, the more money I get paid. This is an equivalent of me bringing the more value to either my staff, to my clients, and to society, really.
So, what's your goal? What's the next step?
Well, I just
have a ranch.
I do have a ranch, but
you raising cattle?
I'm not in Texas.
Okay, where's what state's your ranch in?
Mississippi.
So it's in Mississippi.
But
there's cattle on it.
Yeah, there's cattle, but again,
I gotta preface your husband's a cowboy.
Right.
Yeah. He wears a cowboy hat.
Exactly. So even though I don't have a vast, endless range with an oil pump jack on it yet, but I do have a cowboy, and so my husband, he comes from generations over generations of ranchers, right? So he grew up on, I don't even remember, it's not like they don't measure those places in acres, they measure them in whatever bigger measure it is.
Parcels or something?
No, it's some crazy stuff. So right,
yeah, that was French sale, that area, so it's going to be under some kind of different system other than acreage. I can't remember what it is.
But it's a lot of land. So he has lots of cattle. We have horses. So my place in Texas, we have some horses on that place. But what I did not know when I bought it is that in Texas we have different types of soil.
Oh, okay.
So your sandy loam soil, as we have in Aubrey and Pilot Point area, that's a wonderful, wonderful ground to have animals.
Yeah.
And where I am at sitting, gosh, it's incredible. I'm sitting on a pile of glue-like dirt.
And you can't get anything to grow there.
I cannot get anything to grow there. I mean, when I have to put a fence in, we have to bring like a machine that would drill down those posts, right?
That's in Texas. Well, that's impressive.
Yes, I mean, it's terrible. It's not impressive. And when it rains, it just becomes just this muddy mess. Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah, you're learning the hard things.
Right.
So my family moved here in the 1800s. So that we got the Willingham Survey, which was in the 1800s. If you moved here, they gave you 7,000 acres.
Wow.
Yeah, because they just wanted to get people to come here.
Yeah.
So my family received the Willingham Survey in a place called Jewett, outside of Jewett, Texas. Now, Jewett, Texas is in the middle of nowhere. Literally, if my family would have received in any direction 100 miles, because 100 miles north, you're in Dallas. 100 miles east, you're in East Texas with all the oil fields. 100 miles south, you're in Houston. 100 miles to the west, you're in San Antonio, Austin area. Any other direction, our family would be wealthy, except for we got the worst piece of real estate that you could possibly get. That's the luck of a Willingham right there. That's what happens. And so that's where my family comes from. And so even my grandpa owned a part of that, and my uncle still actually owns a part of that survey. But it's stayed in our family. But you go there, it's not good for growing anything. And it's impressive that my family lived out there in the middle of nowhere. But Texas is very different.
Yeah.
You can literally be 100 miles in any direction, and like East Texas, where all the oil fields are, we'd be fabulously wealthy if that would have happened. So your next goal is to be a rancher. No, shit.
My next goal is to do what I do, but better. Deliver more value, do more deals, make more money. I have I have a nice lake place on Lake Lavon. I'm still paying on it, so would love to get it
rest
paid.
Your life.
Right, for the rest of my life. I would like to get it paid off, build something really, really nice, and.
And now this is really what I want you to focus on. This question.
Okay.
There's a little Anastasia out there somewhere in this world.
Okay.
That her dream is to come to the United States. What's your advice to her?
Well, my first advice, do whatever you can to make it happen. And number two, I mean, it's sometimes the challenges you are going through is truly your ticket. I cannot tell you how much power you have once you overcome a challenge that people say, ooh, I don't know if I could do it.